Hi, everybody. It's Eric Murray from the SugarHuddle.com. Well, you know, the Chiefs-Rams was billed as a game of the year, a Super Bowl preview, thrilling game, a near-capacity crowd at the LA Coliseum. Of course, the game was really supposed to be in Mexico City before it had to be moved because of field issues there. But anyways, it's a game that did not disappoint. I know a lot of people kind of hate how the new NFL has nothing but offense and gets kind of Big 12-like, and this game was certainly like that. But believe it or not, there's actually a lot of defense, too. The Rams ended up winning 54-51, but there were still 7 combined turnovers, 3 defensive touchdowns, and actually a couple of big interceptions at the end is what decided this game. So it's crazy as it is to say that a game where there was over 100 combined points, there actually was a lot of defense being played. Sounds like an oxymoron, but nonetheless, it was fascinating. It was the highest scoring game Monday Night Football history in the 773rd game Monday Night Football's history. 1,001 combined total yards, 7 combined turnovers, 3 defensive touchdowns. I got some other stats I wrote down here. Both sides missed extra points at different points. Each missed an extra point. Chiefs, it was a very sloppy game. They were penalized a whole bunch of times, 13 times, but they had 9 for 92 by the 11-11 mark of the second quarter, so they really got their penalties out of the way pretty quickly. The Rams took a quick 13-0 lead, and the Chiefs actually rallied back to go up 17-16 pretty quickly. Jared Goff, after the first 2 drives, was 10 of 13, 120 yards, and a couple of scores. Kansas City had 7 penalties for 46 yards, I believe, by the 5:35 mark of the first quarter. That was after the Rams scored for a second time. And the Rams, it took, actually at that 11-11 mark, they still hadn't been penalized. The Rams, 10 minutes ago, just over 10 minutes ago in the first quarter or second quarter is when they finally got penalized. And, this was an all-star crew, and a lot of people, some people are saying that wasn't a well-officiated game, and other people are saying that, no, it was actually fine. It's just the Chiefs were making so many obvious penalties. And I think it was a little bit of both. I think at times the refs were calling a little bit too tight and getting a little bit too ticky-tack, but unfortunately that's kind of how the NFL is anymore. But I do think, especially a lot of those early penalties, the Chiefs, they definitely did commit a lot of blatant penalties, especially some of those pass interference and defensive holdings. The problem is, throughout the game, there are also a number of times that the Rams didn't get called on some plays that they should have. It looked like there might have been a false start at one of their touchdowns. It looked like a couple obvious holds on a couple of nice gains, including, I believe, one of their touchdowns. So, the officiating didn't decide the game by any means, but it is something that, you're going to hear people talk about on Twitter, and there is some validity to it. But the Chiefs, remember, they came in this game the most penalized team in the NFL, over 8 penalties a game. Like I said, they had 9 by the early part of the second quarter, so they really shot themselves in the foot. 5 turnovers, 13 penalties, really killed themselves. But anyways, that was how the early going started. And then, like I said, the Rams won 54-51. I'll tell you about how it happened at the end there. Pat Mahomes, 33 of 46, 478 yards, and 6 touchdowns. I believe he's up to 36 touchdown passes now in the year. But he had 3 interceptions. He lost both fumbles, so he had all 5 turnovers for the Chiefs. Nonetheless, he had a 117.6 rating, was sacked 3 times. Aaron Donald had 2 of those sacks. Tyreek Hill had 10 catches, 215 yards, and a couple scores. Travis Kelce, 10 for 127 and a touchdown. Interesting stat, speaking of all these crazy historic stats, coming into this game, in NFL history, teams scoring 50-plus points in a game, regular season and postseason, were 2-16-0. So the Chiefs, wrong side of history there. A couple other things here. Kansas City had 5 sacks on Jared Goff. Chris Jones had 2. Allen Bailey recovered both fumbles, and he actually had a 2-yard fumble return touchdown early in the fourth quarter that put the Chiefs ahead 44-40. Remember, they were trailing 40-30, and the Rams, were on the verge of breaking open even more. But anyways, the Chiefs were able to get right back in it, and then, of course, like I said, it kept going back and forth. There were 6 lead changes in this game, 4 in the fourth quarter alone. And of course, the Rams had the most important one at the end there. As far as the Rams, Jared Goff was 31 of 49, 413 yards, 4 touchdowns. Didn't have any interceptions, but he did lose the 2 fumbles. He was sacked 5 times, like I said. 117.1 rating, so he had literally almost an identical rating to Mahomes. Mahomes 117.6 and Goff 117.1. Go figure. But anyways, Todd Gurley, he only had 94 total yards. Rams didn't really run the ball a whole lot early on. A little bit questionable decision-making down the stretch. Again, I'll get to that in a moment. Jared Goff, 40-yard touchdown pass to Gerald Everett down the stretch there. end up being the game winner ultimately. And then Samson Ebukon, linebacker for the Rams, not the biggest name guy on their defense or on their team or what have you. He had a huge night. He had the other sack. He had 2 takeaways, an interception, and a fumble recovery, and both of those were returned for touchdowns. So just a career night for him, just an unbelievable night. But anyways, those are just some random statistics. I had a million Post-it notes. I don't know why I just didn't write it down on paper. But anyways, nonetheless, just a really, regardless of what you feel about, like I said, the lack of defense at times in today's NFL, just a intriguing, fascinating game, and be interesting to see in the postseason if these teams can play enough defense to win playoff games and get to the Super Bowl. But there's not a whole lot of teams playing defense right now, so I don't think that's going to be much of an issue. But it just, both quarterbacks, despite the mistakes, both really got the job done, and both played fantastic games. In Goff's case, he underthrew a number of passes, misfired on some throws. In Mahomes' case, he can throw at all angles and he can throw at all velocities, but at the same time, he had the pick six against Ebukon where he was throwing flat-footed and it was like a little screen, and Ebukon was able to put his hand up as he was getting blocked and was able to pick it off and take it back. So, and then down the stretch, the Rams, they were able to go ahead 54-51, and the Chiefs got it back. And Marcus Peters, the former Chief who got traded because of some of his attitude issues, now a Rams corner who has had a hugely disappointing year, one of the worst cornerbacks in football this year after being the best the last, 3 years or whatever he's been in the league now. Anyways, he picks off Mahomes, and then the Rams, they can't quite run it out because the Chiefs had 3 timeouts left. So it was a situation where the Rams are going to have to try to keep running the ball and try to see if they could gain a first down. Well, instead, they did a pass on first down, and Robert Woods was able to stay in bounds. Then I believe they tried to do a short run do a run on second down and got stuffed. And then on third down, oh no, actually take it back. I think they did a pass on second down as well. And then on third down, they threw another pass. Yeah, the pass on second down was incomplete. Goff tried to go to Tyler Higbee, and pass was batted down. And then, it was another incompletion on third down. So, Chiefs ended up only having to use 1 timeout. Rams left a ton of time on the clock, and they could have at least forced the Chiefs to use all 3 timeouts. I get where, Sean McVay was kind of getting at as far as being aggressive, but at the same time, I also felt like he got a little bit too aggressive. He tried to outsmart Andy Reid a little bit too much because, these guys are both mad geniuses, mad professors, you could say. These 2 coaches, him and Andy Reid, and I thought he tried to get a little bit too aggressive. But it was fine because Tyreek Hill, Johnny Hekker had an amazing punt, Pro Bowl punter, 68 yards, and instead of letting it go in the end zone, Tyreek Hill fields it from inside his own 5-yard line. The second time he did that in the fourth quarter. Both times it was foolish on his part, and this one he barely got past the 10 instead of taking the touchback. And I think there was like 50 seconds left when the Chiefs got it back and only had 1 timeout. And they had a couple of completions inbounds, and they didn't gain a whole lot of yards. And then they had to use their final timeout. I believe there was like 24 seconds left. And anyways, what ultimately ended up happening is Mahomes threw another interception down the field, and that's how it ended. So ironically, defense is what decided this ball game. But nonetheless, the Chiefs are 9-2. They, like the Rams, are the last 2 teams to have bye weeks. They're going on bye, both of them, this upcoming week. So you know what? The Chiefs are still number 1 in the AFC. They still have the tiebreaker over the Steelers, and of course the Patriots, who are game and a half back or what have you at 7-3. They have a tiebreaker over the Chiefs, but the Chiefs are still ahead of them. So Kansas City's going to be fine. The Rams, there's still a lot of issues defensively, and you wonder, they lost already in New Orleans in a shootout. It's looking like the NFC Championship could go through New Orleans, but nonetheless, the Rams are still a dangerous team. A huge win for them. Big statement for what it's worth, because if they would have lost this game after losing to New Orleans recently, that would have been another tough loss. So anyways, fantastic game. Again, regardless how you feel, the lack of defense. So please go to thesugarhuddle.com. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also like my Facebook page of The Sugar Huddle. Take care.